Taxes and change are two of those mildly inevitable, for sure things that happen to us in life. Yeah, we can get away with not paying our taxes, but eventually the government will come after us. And it's not that we're fearful of the taxes, we just really don't want to pay them. Whereas change is something that a lot of people legitimately fear. What's funny about change is that we're actually constantly in a different cycle of change in multiple areas of our lives. We're either shuffling the cards from whatever the previous change was and learning how to play the game again, or we're actually out there playing the game. But either way, we're constantly in this cycle of change that is moving us and constantly causing us to grow. With these things that are mildly unavoidable, what can we do to make it better? In the case of change, we can either learn to cooperate with the change and learn to benefit from the change, or we can just sit there and let the change run us over. What would you rather choose here? The lesson here is really that instead of focusing on the challenge that the change is, we should focus on the benefit that it actually provides in our lives. When I say that every part of my life was changing 6 months ago when I left my job to focus on Carpe full-time, I mean it. Every single part of my life was changing. My career, my financial standing, my familial relationships, because they were all moving from different places. I was moving in different places. I was beginning an intimate relationship, which is something I haven't had in 2 years. All of my social relationships were kind of changing, and I was going through massive personal development. So really, every single part of my life was changing. What I realized is that learning to embrace the change, even though everything was changing at once, it would be best for me to benefit and to learn and embrace all of these changes. Since it is an inevitable part of our lives, embracing change wholeheartedly can actually lessen its power that it has over us, and we can learn more from it and benefit more from it. And this can also help us find solace in those changes. When you can find solace and when you can embrace change wholeheartedly, it actually makes your life a little bit easier and a little bit better to manage, because you're able to learn and understand and firmly believe that change is something that is unavoidable. It is something that as humans, we just have to deal with, because as humans, we either grow or we die. If we're not growing, then we're dying, because everything else in the world is moving forward, which means that if we're not moving forward with it, we're kind of just scaling backwards. Much like me, you've probably had a change where it shifted every piece of your life, or every piece of your life was shifting. What was the outcome of that change? How are you now? What did that change do for you in the course of your life? And how did it change you? Really, I'm asking you very seriously. Using this information and knowing that you've gotten through other really hard previous changes can only empower you to better get through these next set of changes, or whatever changes are coming to you in your life. Continuing to resist the change will only cause you to get run over. So, how can we stop resisting the change and begin to accept whatever benefit it's going to bring into our life? Well, per usual, I have a couple of questions that you can ask yourself so that you can get past whatever change is happening to you in your life. What change am I currently resisting? What am I actually afraid of in respect to this change? What benefits might there be to this change? And how can I learn to cooperate and accept this change into my life? These questions are just a couple that can get you moving into the right direction to feeling like this change that's happening to you in your life is beneficial, and that dealing with it might actually be easier than you think it is. Like I said earlier in the video, once you realize that the change is actually here for you to help benefit you, it will lessen the power and the angst and the stress that you feel towards the change. You'll be able to look at it from a fresh, more objective perspective to be able to combat it even easier. It is true that for things to change, we must change, and for things to get better, we must get better. But there is a flip side of that, where if things change, we have to change. But when you can learn to revel in the change and celebrate all of the things that change has to offer us, it begins to make life a little bit more fulfilling and a little bit easier to manage. Thank you guys so much for watching today's episode of CordeTV. I hope you all enjoyed it. And if you did, like and subscribe and share with your friends. I'll see you guys next week. Carpe diem, friends.